Hi everyone, I'm Caitlin and I'm an artist from Arizona. Usually I'm painting your pets, but today I'm going to take you through my cat Oliver's portrait. I'm going to just talk through everything I do and hopefully it helps someone out there, or maybe you're here for some relaxing painting content. Either way, welcome and let's get started. So I'm using a 6" by 6" canvas, and I always use my iPad to display my photo references. I have it on that do not die or sleep setting, and the first thing I do is make a pencil sketch so that I know where to put the paint later. I'm using an HB pencil, and I like marking the center of the canvas first so I can make my sketch in the middle of the canvas. I'll put a list of all the materials I'm going to use in the description of this video. And then I figure out what shapes make up Olly's face, which was basically an oval and 2 triangles. I'll loosely sketch that on. My goal is just to get the gist of the outline of his face before I really care about the shapes I'm making. I don't want to draw him in too large before I put in all that effort in making all the shapes perfect. I have a really bad habit of painting animals too large on this canvas size in particular. Yeah, spoiler, I end up painting them a tad large anyways, but we're just gonna ignore that. So next I want to get all the proportions of his face as perfect as possible, because yeah, I can always fix it later, but why do that to my future self? Let's just do the work now to make it easier later. And there are easy ways to check your work as you go. My favorite thing to do is just draw lines from one feature to another. And what do I mean by that? So for example, the outer edge, or I guess it's kind of like the corner of the ear that meets the outer side of the face, should line up with the opposite ear. And to check that, you just draw a line from that corner to the other corner, which you see me do right now. And it's so much easier to see it than explain it. Man, that was getting complicated. Anyways, the rest of the face will be easy to figure out once you place the first eye, which you're going to see me do right now. So I'm going to start by following the line that goes from that same ear edge I was talking about earlier to the left corner of the eye. And I'll start penciling in that flat, squashed oval shape to make an eye. And here's another line check moment. I'm going to use the other edge of the ear and draw a line down from it to see how large the eye should be. And with both the eyes in, I'm just going to continue that line checking technique to figure out where the nose goes. And yeah, that'll be like the hardest part of the face to figure out. Alright, the sketch is done, which means painting is up next. And I need to set my palette. My favorite paint ever to use is this titanium white Liquitex heavy body acrylic. I also use a burnt umber version of that, and the rest are basic acrylics. So after this amazing transition, here's how I set up my palette basically every time. From left to right, there's permanent black, cobalt blue, prism violet, titanium white, burnt umber, Naples yellow, primary yellow, and cadmium red medium. So I have a cup of water off to the side, which is the main medium I use with the paint, and now I'm just going to paint down every mid-tone I see to make a decent backdrop for future texture. And I'm starting out with a Naples yellowy gray, and I'm just going to mix colors as I go. I'll put this color down everywhere I see it, and then I'll just add in different colors to that original color as I see them. So I see a ton of purpley grays and dark grays, so I'll just add in purple or black to that Naples yellow gray to get that. I'm also adding in white to make tints of the same color, which is what you were seeing me put down now. By the way, this is setting up my underpainting, and it's my favorite way to start a painting. I think it's the best way to see all of the colors in the fur, and that usually helps me figure out what background color to use. With the fur basically covered now, I'm just gonna add in dark purple for the nose, and then in a second here, I'm gonna add in this sort of yellowy green color for the eyes. And that will complete the underpainting, and I'm gonna add in the background, which, yeah, sorry, I didn't film it, but you know, I'm gonna change it in the end anyway, so I didn't think you needed to see it. I now want to draw in all the interesting shapes to keep me motivated to continue this painting. So my favorite details to paint are always the eyes, so I like starting there. I'll try to blend out the harsh lines like the edges that surround the pupil in particular, because it gives a more realistic effect by blending in with the surrounding colors. So I'm not too worried about making mistakes now because I will just be painting over it. But yeah, acrylics is uber forgiving, and if the paint is dry underneath that mistake, you can take a rag, dip it in some water, and just wash that mark off quickly before that paint dries. With the nose and eyes more defined, it makes the rest of the head and face seem much more easy to tackle. And I went in with this bright number 2 brush just to start adding in texture, but I'm not sure if you can see, but the paint was just going on way too thin, and it was just really annoying. It felt like I was getting nowhere with the painting, and I ended up switching it out to a round number 6 brush, as you can see right now. And yeah, that ended up not working out, so I landed on a round number 1 brush that held the paint a bit better and just wasn't as floppy as the other brush, and I was able to really get in the zone now. So now I'm continuing just to put down every color I see, and right now that is a lot of blue highlights. I also am using purple to start out the shadows. This is all done relatively fast, so I can usually blend out some colors before they dry. I'm basically doing like a wet into wet technique. I'm also going to continue to darken some of these grays because it will make future marks stand out a bit more. And that's really the goal of this stage, is just to set it up for the future. Oh, I do also have to end up adjusting this ear angle, and because I know I'm going to eventually paint the background like a lighter color, I just go ahead and block it out with white because it'll just help me in the future from having to do more and more layers. So now I'm going to take a break from Oliver and I'm going to get the background to look exactly the way I want it to look so I don't have to paint it over again later. And I don't really care if it goes over some of Oliver because I know I'm going to have to redefine the edges of his face with detail lines anyways. And I think I had like a sunset vibe in mind, which is how I decided on a yellow orange that will fade out into this really pretty white yellow color. So after that, I let the paint dry a bit and then I came back and it is looking a little dark, but yeah, that just makes it more fun for me when I get to add in the light. So I'm starting at the eyes again and I'll add in some more complex greens this time, which are just variations of burnt umber, primary yellow, and blue, and probably a bit of white in the brighter areas. Now I'm just going to use a combination of Naples yellow and purple to create that side texture. So now I'm just really going to get into creating more texture, and all of these marks are still pretty generalized and will be very colorful because it still hasn't really pushed past that underpainting sort of stage. It's very in between and it's that sort of moment where you just got to keep plugging away and adding colors and marks until it looks like something. Alright, so this is going to be a very cool blending of colors, or a very good example of kind of working wet into wet. So I started out with like that really awkward yellowy color, then I layered in some orange, and basically I'm just going to blend more and more colors on top of it to kind of make it mesh and fit in with the rest of the painting while creating kind of like a believable texture. Alright, now we're about to enter kind of almost stop motion warp speed sort of stage, because now I'm just kind of doing the same sort of things and there's going to be way more interesting parts of the paintings to watch later on. So yeah, we're going to get through this real quickly. And yeah, now back to normal. So right now I'm really just focusing on the eyes and making sure that all of the colors in it are way more complex. I'm kind of focusing on sage greens and making the yellows more interesting and more deep. Like right now I'm just kind of like deepening the shadow, and as you can tell it looks way better than the right eye, which I will work on next. So my favorite thing to do to make the eyes look more realistic is adding a dash and a dot. And in a few seconds here, I'm going to be adding the dash, and I will be adding the dot a bit later, but I think it just adds that glossy highlight effect, and it never comes off like too cartoonish either. So yeah, it's really easy thing to do. Look, there's that dash and it already looks cool, right? Okay. So now I'm going to move on to the next eye, and I'm basically going to do the exact same thing that I just did to the left eye. And yeah, so I'm going to move on to the next fun thing, and that is a flower crown. I'm not sure if flower crowns are still the rage, but I've never painted Olly with a flower crown before, and I wanted to do something a little different than my usual portraits. So here we go. I started out basing the flowers off of these orange desert flowers. And I think I just ended up doodling as I went, and I'm sure they do exist in reality somewhere, but yeah, I was just kind of making up shapes as I went. And while that dries, I'm just going to move on to create more details on Olly. So whiskers have always been kind of a challenging part for me. I think I have a bit of a better handle on them now, and I use a bit of water with the paint to allow the brush to glide easier, and yeah, you can see it goes on pretty well that way. Okay, yeah, so this side of the whiskers just does not come out very well. And I think it is because I was using too much water with the paint, so all the lines were just coming out more broken up and gross looking like this. Yeah, so it's definitely a balance, and I'm just gonna go over it later. So if you hadn't noticed yet, I'm not going to have the photo reference up at this point, just because at this stage I am making them the way I want to paint them, so it might differ from what you see in the photo. Obviously I want this painting to look as much as Oliver as I can, but my ultimate goal is just to make something better than the photo. Alright, so now the flowers are ready for their touch-up and rendering. So I'm going to start by putting down the main color, then I'm going to choose a deeper color to blend into that color for shading, then I will choose a lighter color for highlights, like there, and then I'm going to choose a dark color to define the shapes. I'll finish it off with an even brighter highlight. And I'll just repeat this for all of the other flowers you see on his head. So now the flowers look a tad awkward, and I want to make sure that they blend in a bit more and make them look like as if they're kind of like sitting in his fur. So to do that, I'm just going to bring out some of those gray lines and kind of draw them over the flowers to make them look more integrated in his fur. So now is my absolute favorite stage. I'm just going to go in with my round 0 brush and make all of those beautiful lines to create more life and light in his fur. And I'm still going to stick to the classic light blue and purple gray colors for these sort of highlights and little texture moments. I usually just go for it with the ear fluff too. He also has these super cute ear tufts, which is what I'm attempting to paint now, though man, they are coming off way too thick, and I will fix that later. But yeah, I'm gonna slow down a bit more to really see what parts of the face need more texture. I also highly suggest when you get this close to finishing a painting to take a short break when you're feeling that slowdown and come back to it in like an hour. A lot of times it will give you the space to see it again in a new light and determine if it is actually finished or if you need another couple minutes or hours with it. So I'm going to finish up his whiskers now. Olivers are super cool because they fade into this gray color. I think it's uber unique, and I always like to carry over these details off the edge of the canvas. So I'm adding in some white back into his whiskers just to make it look like the light's hitting them in a cool way. I also just want to kind of clean them up because you know that side was looking real rough. So yeah, it's gonna look all refined now. So we're nearing the end here, and I should mention that I forgot to film the very last hour of this portrait, which is actually going to make this reveal coming up a lot more fun. Some edits I made in this last hour were adding in flower stems. I got rid of that weird double chin that Oliver had, and I added in those last whiskers. And about now is when I'd send over photos to the client to see if they like the portrait, but I'm really just trying to make myself happy here, so I think it's good enough for me. Although I feel like the true judge is Oliver, right? And as expected, he really couldn't care less. He's probably like, you make these all the time. Why is this one so special? But yeah, that's it, everyone. First YouTube video down. Woohoo! Okay. Thank you for watching. And if you have any future video suggestions or if you do like this one, let me know. And yeah, hope you have an awesome day. Thank you.